You are now tuned into Celeste the Therapist podcast. Hello, my name is Celeste. Thank you so much for giving me a try. If you are new here, I want to say thank you so much for checking me out. What we do here is I talk about areas of our lives that we get stuck in. I talk about why we get stuck, and I help you shift the way you think about it by giving you practical tools. I'm all about using what you have, starting where you can. And I think a lot of times people tend to give up because they don't understand why they're feeling this things that they're feeling or why things are happening. And I find that the more educated we are about a topic, the better it is for us to create change in our life. If you are a longtime listener, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I appreciate you. If you enjoy these episodes that I do me a favor, share it with somebody that you love. If you want a topic discussed, all you got to do is email me info@celestethetherapist.com. If you want to follow me, you can follow me everywhere at Celeste the Therapist. Also, I have a whole wellness center that I created called Shifting the Way You Think. And if you want to learn more about the Wellness Center, get involved, attend one of the classes, all you got to do is go to stwyt.com. Again, that's www.stwyt.com. All right, let's get into this amazing episode. All right, hello. It's a new year. My name is Celeste. I'm the therapist. And if you're new here, I appreciate you for being here. Today's episode, I'm talking about the fact that it is a new year, new goals, depending on where you hear this episode, at what time, because people listen to these episodes all the time, know that these episodes are always going to be relevant. So if you are thinking, oh my gosh, it's past the new year, this is an old episode, it's not. Just hear me out. Today's episode, the goal behind it, I do realize around the new year that people tend to have this kind of renewed energy about life and about their goals. So, my goal today is to help you think about your goals in a different way and also help you challenge yourself in thinking about how to stay consistent and not just think about this mindset that you're in as a new year mindset. One of the reasons why it's such a powerful space and energy that people are in is because around the new year is when people are selling products, is when gym are doing like specials and people are doing specials and people are talking about the new year, right? So the environment feels very much like newness energetically. And so all of that stuff, I say environment matters, it really does. And literally the reason why we have this renowned, like renewed energy around this time is because a lot of people are in that space, right? And then around maybe like 3-4 weeks in is when we see people start to decline. Some people keep up with it, but the majority of the people don't. And I don't want you to be the majority of the people. I want you to be the people that are able to stay connected and with your goals because I know it's possible. So, first, for people that are thinking about starting their goals and what does that look like, I want you to think about this idea of SMART goals and thinking about breaking down your goals into sections. But before you break them down into sections, I want to show you this wellness wheel. I use it all the time. So, this wellness wheel is just a wheel that kind of breaks down the different areas of our lives. And for people that are listening, you can also find this on YouTube because I'm a very visual person, so I like to provide visuals for people. But on this wellness wheel on YouTube, as you can see, there's a social wellness, emotional wellness, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, and occupational. And these are kind of the standard ones that you see. If you Google wellness wheel, you'll find one. But you can add a chart to add a name to this chart. That let's say you want to get more specific around a certain goal. Let's say your relationship with your partner. You would be able to put that on your pie chart and create a chart for these goals. I think it's helpful to have visual so your mind can continuously see it. But this is just an example of a standard wellness wheel that can help you really look at the different areas of your lives. So now we're going to go into like SMART goals because that's the general thing. Like I want more money. I want to be healthy, right? I want a better job. There are different goals that we have where we'll kind of name it and make it very general, right? And so I want you to kind of get out of that, because a lot of times over and over again, I want to go back to school, or I want a new job. And we're 5 years in, and all you're saying is, I want a new job, but you're not getting really specific with yourself. If you can get specific with yourself, then your mind can help you understand how it's going to happen. It can't help you understand how it's going to happen if you're not able to break it down. And using the SMART goals are a really great way to help yourself break it down. So for people that are listening on the screen, I have a chart that shows the SMART goals. So SMART goals stands for a goal that is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's time bound. So this basically allows you to define the areas of your life you want to keep track of and make it so that it's realistic, right? Because a lot of times the things that we say we want to do may not be realistic, or it may be so big that we need to break it down into chunks. And so if, let's say, I use health because it's an easy one to use. Let's just say I'm not walking at all, right? And I want to get more healthy. I'm not going to say I'm going to run 5 miles a day, or get up and start running every day. I want to run every day. Like, that's not really realistic if I'm not a runner. But if I say I want to learn, I want to be able to run, let's say I want to run a 5K eventually, right? What am I going to do to get there? I want to start with walking at least 2 to 3 times a week. If I'm not doing anything at all, walking is a huge step. A lot of times people will minimize the steps that they make to get to where they need to get to, which is just not fair to them. So this chart that I'm putting up, so when you think about specifics, so you want to clearly outline exactly what you want to achieve, and try not to leave any room for ambiguity. So don't leave any room for not really having clear understanding on what that looks like. If it's finances, right? If you say, I want to make more money, like, what does that realistically look like? The second thing is that making sure it's measurable. So you're going to provide a way to track progress with quantifiable metrics like numbers or percentages, right? So being able to say that, so I'm gonna be able to walk, right? I want to walk, and I want to walk 2 to 3 times a week. And so each week I'm checking in. How many times did I walk today, right? Make sure they're achievable and realistic based on your skills. So if I'm not moving my body at all, and I'm talking about I want to run 5 miles a day, like, is that really realistically able going to happen? No, it's not. Make sure it's relevant so it aligns with your broader goals and priorities, making sense and context of your situation. You really got to make sure that the goals that you're saying you want to do are things that are part of your passion and your vision. Are you the right person to achieve it, right? And a lot of times, some of the things that you think you want to do is not because you want to do them, but because society says, "Oh, you get married and have a kid." Everybody doesn't want to get married. Everybody doesn't want a kid. And unfortunately, if we're not sitting down and think about, like, is this something that is in alignment with me? I'm going to do things that I may not really want to do. And then time bound. So assigning a start date and an end date to encourage yourself to reach these goals. I'm going to show you an example, a chart where it shows like a specific example where they break down the different areas. So for people that are listening, so what is the goal? I want to cut the 6 hours I spend processing data in Excel every day to 3 hours by implementing an improved work routine. So this person wants to change the way they're doing work, and they want to do it by using a routine. So then it's M. How will I measure it? I'll track the time I spend processing Excel data every day and watch as the time decreases. And then attainable. Do I have the skills and the resources for it? I have access to Excel ebooks that will help me learn how to be more efficient when using Excel formulas. I'm going to pause right here. So in this example, this person is recognizing, in order for me to cut down my time that I'm using with Excel, I'm going to have to learn the different systems that it's going to take to get there. This podcast I started in 2018. I didn't have any idea about podcasting, about editing, about nothing, but I had a goal in mind. And so I read books about podcasting. I watched YouTube videos about editing, about marketing, right? I had to incorporate in my goal time to learn new things. So these goals that we have, it's gonna require us to not tell ourselves that we can't find time, but require us to create time to get the things that we say we want to get done, and sometimes with a little education. This example that I'm showing you around the Excel, they may not have money to hire somebody to show them how to do it, but they may have YouTube, right? YouTube has a lot of people that are showing things for free. An ebook that maybe they can get where it's talking about how to cut your time down, or where it's talking about how to use Excel in a way where you're able to use shortcuts and things like that, right? So the time that they're going to spend learning is actually going to take time away from their schedule, but it's going to give them more time on the other end. The time that I spent learning about how to podcast or create my wellness center is hard at the beginning, but then once I get a hang of it, it's going to be like second nature. Like, I'm working on building systems in my wellness center right now, and it feels like a lot of work. And despite how it feels right now, the thing that keeps me going is that I know it's not always going to feel this way. Cooking, I love to cook now, but before I had to go on YouTube, press play, press pause. I had to look at a lot of recipes to learn how to make certain dishes. Those same dishes that I make like the back of my hand took me time to get to that point to learn it. Right. So this is just, I want to encourage you that it may feel like you have a long way to go when it comes to your goals, but you'll never get there if you don't start the process and understand the process does feel hard, but you got to choose your hard, right? Do I want to deal with the part of like taking time, scheduling, reading, and doing these things to learn and get me to the place I need to get to? Do I want to take that time to do that? That's hard. Or do I want to choose the other hard of living with regret, or having my mind ruminate of the things that I want to do, or have these ideas just floating and sitting in my head? That hard has a longer timeline, and it doesn't feel good, and it keeps you wound up and anxious. So is it relevant? Why is this important? I spent 6 hours processing data in Excel, and that's too much of my time. Cutting the time in half would ensure I have more time for other work activities. This person recognized that they're spending too much time on something, and they are doing things that they need to get done. And this is relevant because they want to be able to use their time for something else. And then the last thing is time bound, right? We want to give it a timeline. I want to cut the time I spend on Excel calculations in half by the 15th of next month, right? And so for this example, it's like within a month, I should be able to learn these skill sets and implement them. For certain other things, it made three months, right? Within 3 months, I want to be able to walk consistently at least 3 times a week, right? And so in those 3 months, I'm going to check in, and then let's say I've already achieved that. How do I want to increase that? I want to add something else to it. So be mindful as you're thinking about your goals that you're being specific with yourself, and know you always can go back to the drawing board. And then as you're creating these goals, make sure that they are in alignment with your values and your passion. Make sure you're not having your parents' voice or society's voice in your ear, creating a narrative that may not be a narrative that you want to have happen, right? Just be mindful that that's happening. The next thing I want you to think about, right? So we're using the wellness wheel. We are breaking down these goals by using the SMART goals. As you're doing this, think about, how am I going to allow it to be visualized, right? Where am I going to put it? Am I going to have it on my wall? Is it going to be a screensaver? How many times am I going to touch this, right? Because it can't be like, let me just write down this goal and go away. Because guess what? Society is not in alignment with you fulfilling your goals and your passion, right? A society talks about making money. Society creates narratives that make you think you don't have enough, right? You can have a regular broom and sweep fine, but then you see the mechanical like Rumbo, I forgot what it's called, but it kind of like goes on its own and it cleans up the dirt. You don't have the money for that, But the way society markets, you start to feel like I gotta have that. So then you're swiping your credit card, getting something that you don't need. It would be nice, yes, but do I need that right now? And can I realistically afford it? Right. So if you are not mindful of what your vision and your passion is, right? Finances is something that a lot of people are working on and trying to save money or trying to not spend as much. A lot of the way we spend is is psychological, right? We're spending because we don't feel good. We're spending to make us feel better instead of looking deeper and within from within us. So if you can work on writing down these goals, right? And let's say you're checking in with it like every other week. And let's say you accomplish those 2 to 3 days a week within 3 to 4 weeks. You go back to the drawing board and you amp it up, or you change it, or you stay consistent with that goal if you feel like you've reached that plateau of the area that you're trying to work on. Be mindful on making sure you are allowing your mind to see the vision on a regular basis. There was a time, if you listen to this podcast, I talk about working at a shelter, and the glass that there was a glass window, and so the clients would come around as they're waiting to have dinner or something. Even if I wasn't at my office, they would come to the office area just to see the affirmations I had posted on the glass. So in my office, I would put the affirmations so when they're in the hallway, they can see it. And so their mind is reminding them of who they are, not of their current circumstances. Sometimes our circumstances that we're in will allow us to forget who we are. Sometimes our circumstances that we've been exposed to or that has happened will stay so imprinted in our brain that our brain starts to think that's who we really are. And the more you counter that with through therapy, through talking to other people, through being in support groups, to listening to this podcast, to having affirmations, your mind starts to develop a new narrative. And so when you're thinking about the goals that you're trying to achieve, if you're not looking at them every day, if you're not feeding your mind with them and educating yourself and getting more deeper into that passion, your mind is not going to help you see how it's possible. So that's why visualizing it is going to be important. If you're trying to achieve your goals, the next thing that's going to be really important is routine. Develop a system for yourself. I have systems in place for this podcast where every single Wednesday I have a new episode. So I know before Wednesday, I need to make sure that I'm creating the content and I'm recording the content and I'm putting it together. There are things where, when it comes to moving my body, every week I'm looking at my schedule, pointing in when am I going to make that time. I have a walking pad. If you follow me on social media, I share a lot of like my story and the things that I do on a day-to-day basis. And I recently got this walking pad because it's cold outside and I don't really like being outside in the cold. And I have a gym membership, but there are times where I may not feel like going. And so I said, you know what, let me grab this walking pad where I can put it under my bed and use it while I'm watching TV. And it works, right? And because I recognize, like, I struggle a lot feeling anxious, and sometimes I can feel overwhelmed just by the way I frame things. And I know I'm starting something new. Moving my body has been a blessing for me. It's like a medicine, and I advocate for it to people all the time. If you're sitting down and you're letting those thoughts just ruminate in your body, you're going to feel stuck. If you move, it's kind of like those negative thoughts start to melt away. So, really being mindful that you are creating systems for yourself. The next thing is making sure you are holding yourself accountable, whether you have an accountability partner, whether you have a friend that you can maybe work with, a therapist, obviously, but I know that's not always accessible for people, or a coach. And let's say you don't have any personal person in your life, making sure that you are making time to check off and check in about your goals, looking for resources that are affordable or free that can help feed you in your mind so that you're allowing yourself to be exposed to a different type of energy. I understand that some people may not have people in their life that they can turn to or use for accountability. I also understand there's a lot of literature. Even if you don't like reading, there's a lot of things you can listen to and take notes. But you be a student. Like if you were in school and you were learning something from the teacher, Be a student of yourself. So you're learning new information. You're allowing your mind to gather new information to help hold yourself accountable. So if you can create regular times and regular check-ins for yourself, that would be amazing. The last thing I'll say is that there's going to be obstacles that's going to come, right? I always say, like, I wish I could be like, okay, I'm going to like start this process and then life pause, like nothing happened. I could just really focus on my goals. But no, life is going to life, right? And when you have systems in place, even if life is lifing, a lot of times it's easier to get back to where you started or where you were headed. So understand life is going to life, obstacles are going to come. And as long as you're still breathing, there's room for change, right? Let's say you messed up, right? You know what? I messed up. Let's use finances because that's something that a lot of people are struggling with. I brought this expensive thing I didn't really need. When you look back, you're like, it was an emotional decision. All right, you know what? I can't change that. I already purchased it. I have this big credit card debt, right? I'm going to accept that this is what I have, right? And yes, I paid off a bunch of stuff and then now I racked it back up. What was wrong with me? I wasn't thinking, right? Forgive myself. All right, Celeste, you messed up, right? Let me go back to the drawing board and let me work on developing a plan so that I can work on paying this debt off. And so when you start working on having a plan, guess what? The debt is still there, but the fact that your mind knows that, okay, yes, is there, but we're working on it, it feels better. I don't have a job, and this really is scary and hard. But guess what? I'm going to start going to the career center. I'm going to start spiking up my resume, right? I'm going to start making these steps to get to where I need to be. So things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. And I want you to remind yourself it's not the end of the world, right? You can go back to the drawing board and create change. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. You know, I always tell people if anything I say resonates for you, you got to understand that you have more power than you realize. You got to start working on having faith and believing in yourself. Unfortunately, a lot of people, the way that they think of themselves is the experiences that they had or the things that people have said they weren't going to be, right? So sometimes the voice in your head is not your voice, it's the voice of all of your experiences. And so if you can work on understanding that and giving it a name, sometimes you just got, let's just say the name is Susie. I'm sorry if there's a Susie in here. You just got to be like, Susie, I don't got time today. Like, this is not the direction I'm heading. I need you to simmer down, right? Start to get more in tune with what's going on in your mind because your mind is racing and is running, whether you choose to be a part of it or not. And because I realized that I'm going to always choose to be a part of it because I don't want to feel like I'm at the mercy of what is happening in my thoughts, which can be all kind of things. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it makes sense. I January 1st, so if you missed it, I am hosting a free wellness workshop where it talks about the wellness wheel and how to work on your goals, right? So if you missed it live, if you go to celestetherapist.com/shop, you will be able to find the recording that you can download. And I'm doing it every quarter, right? So you'll see the sign up for the next one that's going to happen at the end of March, right? And so then I'll do it again, April, May, at the end of June, and then at the end of September. My goal is for it not to be something that we just do once a year, right? So if you don't have an accountability partner or if you want to work on holding yourself accountable, you can work on signing up for the free quarterly workshops that are going to be taking place where I'm going to go back over those, what the wellness will. I'm going to remind you of how you can work on staying consistent and the things that may have been coming up. And I think being able to have this accountability group that I'm creating is going to help you get more in tune with what you are trying to do for yourself. So thank you all so much. I'm just going to play this quick advertisement about my center because I want you to know that if you are in the Stoughton South Shore area, Massachusetts, there are classes and things that you can do to help you on your goals. So make sure you're subscribed so you can hear about all of the things that are going on. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Quick announcement. I want to give you some ways you can support, right? I have two books. One is called Relationship Goals. It's a guide to a healthy relationship. I also have a guided journal. And if you find yourself stuck in thoughts, want to get your thoughts on paper, I ask you different questions and I also ask you how you're feeling. I provide you with the feelings chart. If you go to celestetherapist.com, you can find 365 days of intentional living along with relationship goals. Another way you can support me, I have this wellness center whoop, whoop, that I'm so excited about called Shifting the Way You Think Wellness Center. At my center, I do not want finances to be a reason why people can't get what they need. So if you want to donate a class to someone, please feel free to go to my website, stwyt.com, and you can give a donation. The classes run between $15 and $35. My goal is for everyone to be able to access these services regardless of finances. So if you can donate, please donate to your girl center. I would be greatly appreciated. All right, y'all, let's get back into this amazing episode. All right, so thank you so much for rocking out with me. And for people that have been with me on this journey for all these years of podcasting, and just even before I podcasted, I started to create a platform on social media where I talked about mental health back in probably like 2015, 2016. So I just want to thank you so much for everything. And until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you.